Honestly, I knew I needed to make the decision, you know, right from the beginning. But when you're in a domestically violent relationship, you do, you're brainwashed, and you know you are going through so much, and this person makes you feel like you are the only person in the world, and that is not the case. You do have family and friends that will help you. You do have family and friends that will be there to support you, but your abuser will make you feel like that's not what's going on, that, you know, he's the only person, or she, because men are abused as well,
right,
that they're the only person that's there for you.
Okay. So did you have your family's support?
I did have my family support, but I hid it from them. I remember one instance, it was July, my birthday's in July, that's why I remember this very well, where my abuser, he actually bit me. He bit me on my arm. And my mother came to visit me, and I had a house coat on, so a big robe in the middle of July. So I tried to hide it from my family. There were times when I had, when I was choked, and I had fingerprints on my neck that I would try to cover up with makeup, because I didn't want my family to know that that's what was going on. But they were supportive.
Wow. So what made you hide?
What made me hide it? Because he always told me that he cared about me, that he would never do it again. I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And I know a lot of people say, well, if somebody hits me one time, I'm never going to do it. I would never stay with them. But think about it like this. It's not like we went out on the first date and he slapped me. I was conditioned to be that way. He started to isolate me from my family and friends, and started to point out little things that they were doing wrong to make me think that they weren't supportive of me, or they weren't going to be there to help me. And that's how it started. I was fortunate enough to get out alive. I do have a friend who was killed by her abuser.
Oh my.
And she was killed, as well as her 2 sons. And I was fortunate enough to get away. If you're in a domestically violent relationship, you are a survivor. You have to survive those beatings every day, and that abuse every day.
So it's not just physical? Does it start physical, or did it progress into being a physical abuse?
That's a good question. It progressed into being physical abuse. It started off with, oh, don't wear that. Oh, you need to cover up. I don't want anybody to see you dressed that way. And when you're with a man and you have a man that's saying, oh, well, you know, you start to think, well, he must really care about me, because he wants me to, you know, be covered up. He doesn't want anybody else to look at me. So it starts like that. And then, you know,
so
people...
it makes you feel valuable or precious.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Wow. And what else?
So when people would come over, you know, he would say, oh, don't open the door if my friend comes to the house, or if my brother comes to the house, because he was saying that he thought that they wanted me, that they wanted to be in a relationship with me. So, you know, don't open the door for them. So I'm like, wow, you know, he really likes me, because he doesn't want anybody else to have me. And then, you know, it just started from there, and it turned into verbal abuse, telling me I was a bad mother, which I never believed, but, you know, he would tell me I was a bad mother. He would call me bad names. And then it turned into physical abuse.
And you have children?
I do have children.
How many?
I do. I have 2. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son.
And how old were they when all this was going on?
My son was probably about 1, and my daughter, she was 2 when I started into a relationship with him. And I left when my daughter was about 7. No, she was 5 because she was going to kindergarten, and my son was 4.
Okay. So what made you leave? How did you get that, that spirit, that courage to just break free from this?
It was actually that statistic.
Wow. How'd you come across that?
Well, I was in a domestic violence shelter, so I left my abuser many times. I left him a lot of times, and I went back.
You went back?
I did go back.
Why'd you go back?
Because I thought he was going to change. He told me he was going to change. I fell in love with this man, and I thought he was going to change. I said, I want him to go back to how he was when we first started dating. I want him to go back to how he was. And I just always had this vision in my mind that he would go back to that.
So it's kind of like being in love with who you want them to be,
right,
and not exactly who they are.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Or who they were.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, like I said, if we would have went on a date and he would have smacked me on the first date, I would have left. I would have been like, "What? You're crazy," and I would have just left.
So what do you do now? I understand you're more of an activist of some type.
Yes.
You go around, do you speak and...
I do. I speak out about domestic violence, and one thing that I realized when I was, can I take a